let's talk about the RFP specifically. Let's say it's a bid over $25,000. Let's just, for the sake of this conversation, say it's some sort of clean, deep clean, disinfection, whatever. They see it on your website. I'm assuming that bid gives an outline of how to apply, and then what happens.
Absolutely. So they'll kind of handhold you through all the little steps. So yeah, you're going to respond and typically show justification of how you can meet those standards. And then you would submit like your bid to the central procurement office, which is where you would find the application. So once that's submitted, they'll take all of the vendors that have met minimum qualifications. And from there, there's typically an RFQ where like kind of that question dynamic plays. And typically that's an on-site visit. You have kind of one shot and all of the vendors that are bidding show up. And kind of get to see the facilities firsthand. Typically, they're meeting like the stakeholders that have a big vote at the table.
Sure. So I'm going to stop you there. This is really, really interesting. And if you're not familiar with like what a multi-million-dollar government contract or state contract, what goes into it, you just hit on something that I think is kind of a shock to people when they first see it. You go through the requirements of the RFP, and then let's say you get invited. You're being invited to a public walkthrough. And by a public walkthrough, that means you're literally walking this campus for this hypothetical with your competition. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so I think that's really important for people to know that you're at this public walkthrough and there could be 4 to 6 other companies there following around a facility director, learning about the facilities. And I want to focus in on this for a minute. You've been a part of those public walkthroughs. Let's say someone's listening, they see a bid out there, they get invited to a public walkthrough, they show up, there's 6 other companies there. What's something that someone could do to maybe stand out in that public walkthrough, or maybe some like do's and don'ts of what not to do in one of those walkthroughs?
Well, I think your typical do's and don'ts of like, be on time, showing up presentable, asking appropriate questions.
What's showing up presentable mean like in facilities? This is like an ongoing like topic. Like you can overdress, you can underdress.
Sure. I would say like comfortable shoes to walk in. So maybe not like your tennis shoes you run on the track, but maybe something more business casual, because typically you're going to be covering a lot of square footage. Yeah. So if you're showing up in your 5-inch stilettos as you're trekking around campus, you're probably going to make your way to the back of the squad as they're walking around. So
we had a client say that she walked 5.5 miles total on a walkthrough with UC Health.
I would believe that.
So I think just having proper shoe wear, it sounds so simple, but it's definitely like important.
Yeah.
I also don't like overdress. I would in like a 5-piece suit and over impress.
Absolutely. I mean, typically you're meeting facilities people, so they're at the management level, they're probably in like a dress pants and a button-up shirt, and then step down, maybe just a facility uniform and jeans. So somewhere in the middle.
And people listening might be like thinking like, why are we talking about this? And I can tell you from hundreds of sales meetings how many times I've shown up overdressed and it's appeared to be intimidating, or I've shown up underdressed and I just felt off.
There's always this judgment of like, which appropriate or not, one could argue, but you're looking at them and thinking like, they're too big or they're too small for us, like we're too small of a fish or we're way too big for them. And like, could they really handle it, or would they be bored, or would they be, so part of that is your presentation, and how you're showing up. I would say another big piece is how we typically look at our vendors as they're an extension of our brand. So yeah, you may be wearing ABC cleaning, but really you're an extension of the university. And so the standards that we have on our, paid employees, that kind of goes along with you as well. So you kind of see more of our customers than we see some days, you're in their office spaces continually. So representing, have the same standards, that professionalism, communication skills, all of those things would be important.
And